What I am about to do is give you a comprehensive explanation on Muhammad Mokaev and why he sucker punched Manel Kape. Many MMA content and YouTube videos that you are watching regarding this matter are going to do the following. They're going to condemn Muhammad Mokaev. They're going to call him the P word and criticizing his fighting skills based on the fact that he did not deliver in the way that he originally had intended. It's not looking good for Muhammad Mokaev, but I wanted to offer, as an advocate of Muhammad Mokaev, a different outlook on the matter. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong in this matter. Full warning. But I also feel that I'm right. And in the world that we live in today, what is correct and what is moral in terms of the actions that you're going to take really are subjective. Let's be honest. Not everybody lives an honor culture. What exactly do I mean by an honor culture? Can I give some examples of that? For one, take a look at people who grew up in the hood or grew up in a gang-infested area. They operate in that matter. Khabib and his guys, they operate in that matter. Meaning that the minute you disrespect somebody, the ultimate thing that comes to follow is violence. And there's no way around that. So let's try and explain the Muhammad Mokaev scenario. Here it is. Manel Kape got into a street fight with Muhammad Mokaev to where it affected him during his fight. And as a result, he felt that it would have altered his career. In turn, and in payback, with the reprisal choice of Muhammad Mokaev, he had decided to sucker punch him, debilitate him, in order to give himself an advantage in this fight, similar to how Manel Kape gave the previous opponent of Muhammad Mokaev an advantage in that fight, to which many people had criticized his performance, only to cite the fact that I had an injury due to Manel Kape and our street fight in the PI Center. So this is why Manel Kape is operating in this particular matter at hand. And I don't know if you can blame him. A lot of people are going to write on the comment section saying something to the effect that, how can you defend Muhammad Mokaev? Well, the question is, how do you deduct the reasoning of Muhammad Mokaev being altered in his last fight due to Manel Kape? And when Muhammad Mokaev said that, hey, you know what? I'm from the streets. This is the reality of my life. I'm not going to back down from anyone. There were many people in the MMA media space, such as Jeb Meshew of MMA Fighting, that literally called him a child. And I understand this particular way of thinking. You see, in the gang world, when you go off on somebody based on a disrespect, and the disrespect can range from a multitude of things. It can range from disrespecting somebody's hood or barrio or somebody's set, just as small as that. To the average mind, that may not seem like a lot. That may seem like, well, you're disrespecting a particular street. I don't know how I could relate to that, as some would say. But then there are those that can relate to that and understand and say, you know what? This is what we have to operate under within the social contract of the culture that we live in. And that's something a lot of you don't really understand, is that term social contract. Let me give you an example. Growing up, I've had many friends who became gang members, criminals, thugs, and then on the other side, many of them were police, sheriffs, COs, law enforcement, all in total. Okay? And I gotta be honest with you, every time I bring them around a specific party or a get-together or this and that, it becomes awkward, but the elephant of the room always goes something to the effect of, oh man, you know, why you bring a snitch around or this and that. Here's something you gotta understand. If you live on one side of the law or if you live on the other, if you're in a gang, your social contract is tied to your neighborhood and everything else that falls under that in terms of how you're going to react with reprisals, how you're going to react in retaliation matters, how you're going to function in terms of a hierarchical ranking order. More so in California than anywhere else in the gang cultures of the world. But when you are a police officer, here's something that a lot of my gangster homies really don't understand, right? When somebody is a cop, they are not a snitch. What they are is operating under the social contract of who they are as somebody that is serving the law and serving the Constitution of the United States, just like you as a gang member or a gangster is tied to the social contract of the street. So in other words, you don't snitch. And when you are a cop, in other words, you don't go and commit a crime. When you're a civilian, you don't do either, or sometimes you have to fall under somewhere in between that one side of the law to the other, for whatever reason benefits you to whatever interest your mission is. Nonetheless, the one thing you got to understand is the mindset that Mohamed Mokaev is operating under. So I told you from the very beginning, he operates under the aspect of honor culture. You disrespect me, I'm going to come after you. And again, the gangster world is not the only type of world that is embedded in this way of thinking. Obviously, the Muslim community and its masculine base obviously operate in this particular mindset matter. This is where he is operating under. He felt that you could have cost me my career, some money, and some rankings. So therefore, I have to rehabilitate you for this fight, create advantages for myself, and not only that, give you all the disadvantages as you gave me in my last fight due to the street fight that we had. Do you understand where I am coming from with this statement and why I'm conveying this to you? Nobody in any MMA, YouTube, or content creation space of combat sports is going to tell you this. Everybody's going to follow the status quo, which again goes back to the contrasting ideas of Mohamed Mokaev and how you look at fair play in society today. So in other words, you're looking at it from the side of the law, the side of the UFC and its rules and its policy, and we're not even talking about whether he is worth it or not, right? That's a completely different conversation. Obviously, to what a lot of people are citing, they are saying that Mohamed Mokaev is not really a big money draw at the time, or I don't even know how you can measure that. Nonetheless, that's what they're saying, so that is the reason why they let him go, as opposed to Conor McGregor throwing a dolly in a bus and, yeah, making life difficult for everybody else, but being okay because he's a pay-per-view star. That's a completely different conversation. But the conversation that I want you to focus in right now is understanding why Mohamed Mokaev did it. So put yourself in the shoe of a fighter right now. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do it exactly like this. We're going to ask ourselves, if there was somebody out there that would cost us our dream or maybe even rehabilitate us by the slightest bit just by going into a fight, don't you feel that you should do the same thing back to this person? And again, you're going to think about this from two different ideas. Remember what I told you about some of my friends that became cops and some of my friends that are straight gangsters and gang affiliates and whatnot, right? Completely two different worlds. But understand that when you're on one side of the aisle, you're going to operate in what you were contracted to. And I don't mean contract as in terms of freelancer or whatnot. I'm talking about the actual contract of the social guard that you are under, whether that would be for the Constitution of the United States, i.e. law enforcement and military, or to your gang and your set if you live that life. As simple as that. So that's what we have going on in the explanation of Muhammad Mokaev's mindset. He is operating under the social contract that many people who live by the, I'm going to play by the rules, I'm going to follow the law to the T, and I'm not going to take any risks or ruffle any feathers, agreeable types. Okay, you're going to look at Muhammad Mokaev as an absolute deviant. But to those that live that life, I'm telling you right now, they understand why Muhammad Mokaev did what he did. I'm telling you. Let's play a game, right? Who would condemn Muhammad Mokaev? And while we name names, let's look at their background and history. Okay, let's start with Tim Kennedy. Would he condemn Muhammad Mokaev for what he did, punching up Manel Kape? Yeah, he absolutely would. He would say, dude, that's against the law. You can't do that. Why? He's an Army Ranger, Captain America, believes in the American Constitution. And if he saw you attack Manel Kape, he would probably call the cops on you. So for sure, Tim Kennedy would be against it. All right, how about Bobby Green? Yup, he would absolutely side with Muhammad Mokaev because he's from the streets. He served prison time. He knows what it is. Would Nate Diaz side with him? Nate Diaz would be like, hell yeah, Muhammad Mokaev. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, man, yeah, it's Stockton. Would Conor McGregor agree with him? Yeah, he would absolutely agree with him, and in the most biased way because they are both tied to the same management company. So, how about Brian Stan? Absolutely, he would be against it. Marine, believes in the U.S. Constitution. Yeah, he would absolutely do it. Sean Strickland, you know what? He believes in a Constitution, but he's the type to not snitch on you. So you got to give Sean that. But he lives in that same social contract as people that are thugs and gangsters. So think about those names that I just mentioned as an example. People look at the world in two different lenses. Now, I know that this entire video is about Muhammad Mokaev and the explanation of why he did what he did and giving you an alternative outlook that maybe other content creators are not putting out there. But understand, away from Muhammad Mokaev and away from MMA and away from UFC stories, the lesson and the life lesson that you can take from that is that we look at the world in two different lenses. And that's just the way that it is. Even with people who have the same ideology. You see, even the Shias and the Sunnis in our Islamic community, we may be believers of Allah and the Prophet and his messenger, but there are slight differences and variations. So we're going to look at the world in two different lenses. Just like the January 6ers and the pro-government conservatives, as niche as that gets, right? There's those two different contrasting aspects that see the world in two different lenses. Well, just like this, to those that condemn Mohamed Mokaev and to those that understand Mohamed Mokaev, which is the side that I'm firmly taking in this video, everybody looks at the world in two different lenses. Now, how do you see the world? You see the world like this. I'm going to go to my 9 to 5 every day, do what I'm told, do the routine that I know what to do every day in a safe box. That's your life. Well, I choose to live a different life, take different ventures, go out, put myself on a camera, talk to the world in YouTube, share my ideas that may be controversial to others or something that may not be agreed upon by the majority of people. This video may not be the most agreed upon by other people. Maybe other people will see it this way. But understand that if you mess with mine and you try to take what is mine, you need to understand that the reprisals that I'm going to lay upon you are going to be swift, hard, and they're going to be consistent. And I'm not going to stop until you beg for submission. So, did Mohamed Mokaev operate in that same manner? In a way, yes, he did. And the reason why is because he's trying to take away what was taken away from him. This is something a lot of you don't understand, that really are not about that life. And again, you got to understand, right? You may look at it as an immature way of looking at the world, but a lot of people have this weird stereotype that goes, as the saying goes, only broke people start fights or get into fights or get into street fights or this and that. It's kind of weird that you use a socioeconomic qualifier to somehow determine somebody's behavior. Now, you could be whatever you want to be, but I tell you what, even if I were a billionaire, if you disrespect me, I'm rocking your snot box, and there's no way around that. I don't care how much money I have. I don't care what I got going on. I don't care what I could lose, because the minute that you back down away from anybody, the more that they're going to continuously take from you. So this is the ride that I'm trying to bring you right now, is the mental understanding of why I am willing to take certain positions when someone tries to take what is mine. And this is the mindset that Mohamed Mokaev is operating under. And again, most of you are not going to understand that. Because what most of you understand is playing by the rules, which, by the way, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. You should play by the rules. Go out, get your money through legit jobs and legit investments and risk factors that you're going to take in order to reach the top. But at the same time, try and understand that that life is not, it's not as easy as following the rules. And I hate to say that, but it's true. The rules did not protect Mohamed Mokaev when he walked in there injured. You want to know why? Because he did not want to get Manel Kape in trouble. He did not tell the UFC that this man assaulted me, blindsided me, and as a result, it altered my fighting style and my performance in his last outing. Because if he was to tell the UFC that, hey, Manel Kape attacked me at the PI Center, it would have gotten him in trouble. Now, you ask yourself, well, why don't you just go do that? Why don't you just go and tell the UFC that this guy assaulted you? Guess what? Guess what? People are not from that life. People are not from that life. So, as a result of that, that was the choices that he made. And you're going to make different choices. And that is all that I have right now. I will see you guys in the next content to come. Like and subscribe, inshallah.